This video is going to talk about adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Always have to check. All right. So when you add a whole number to a mixed number, you're just going to add the whole numbers and then write the fraction part of the mixed number. So if I start off with one whole pizza and then I add 2 1/4 more pizzas, it turns out that I have 1, 2, 3 total pizzas and 1/4. So if I were to go through and add these, I would add the whole numbers and keep the fraction. You try it on your own, and then we'll talk about it when you come back. Welcome back. 3 plus 4 1/2. 3 plus 4 is 7. Keep the half, 7 1/2. 3 plus 5 1/3. 3 plus 5 is 8, plus the extra third is 8 1/3. 2 plus 1 3/4. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus the 3/4. 3 3/4. 4 plus 2 5/8. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus the 5/8. When you add two mixed numbers, you can add the whole numbers and the parts separately. So if I have 1 1/6 pizza and 2 1/6 pizza, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to count how many whole pizzas I have, and it turns out that that's 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. Then I'm going to add how many sixths do I have. So 1, 2 sixths. So I added the whole numbers together, and then I added the numerators together. You go ahead and try these on your own, and when we come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. 3 2/5 plus 4 1/5. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2/5 plus 1/5 is 3/5. 1 3/8 plus 4 2/8. 1 plus 4 wholes is 5. 3/8 plus 2/8 is 5/8. 1 3/7 plus 2 3/7. Well, I have 3 wholes, and then I have 6/7. 5 3/10 plus 3 4/10. 5 plus 3 is 8. 4 plus 3 is 7. And of course, we're keeping the denominator because that tells us how many pieces make a whole. Adding the ones parts separately is similar to adding the tens and ones separately when you're talking about just adding whole numbers. So I did 2 plus 6, and I got 8. 3 plus 2 is 4. Same thing here. 2 plus 6 still gets me 8. 3 plus 4 gets me 7. The only difference is over here, I have that denominator that I'm keeping. So let's go ahead and look at 3 6/8 plus 2 7/8. If I add the wholes up, 3 plus 2, that's 5. And then I look at the fractions, I have 6/8 and 7/8. 6/8 plus 7/8 is 13/8. And 13/8 is improper, the bigger numbers on the top. If I change 13/8 to an improper fraction, remember that you can do that by making the L and dividing. So I have 13 on the inside and 8 on the outside. 8 goes into 13 one time. And 13 minus 8 is 5. So I have 1 5/8. But my answer is not 1 5/8 because I still had the 5 wholes over here. So now I have 5 plus 1 5/8, or a total answer of 6 5/8. We just regrouped the same way as we do anywhere else, except now we have to pay very close attention to what the denominator is, because that tells us how many can fit in the numerator. So if I look over here, 6 plus 7, I'm not going to put 13. That wouldn't make sense. Instead, I would take that 1 and I would move it up above and carry it over or regroup it into the tens place. 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6, so that would be 63. A weird 63, but 63. Same thing over here. I have 7 plus 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, so that's 11 over 11. 3 plus 2 would be 5. Now, personally, I like to regroup after. If you want to regroup this 11 over 11 and change it into 1 here, you can, but it tends to get a little bit messy, so I tend not to do that. I would take 5 and 11 over 11, and I know that 11 over 11 is the same thing as 1. So the 5 stays, and now I have another 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. So my answer is 6. So you're supposed to identify whether regrouping is required, and if you're supposed to regroup, go ahead and change it into a mixed number. So you go ahead and try these on your own, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So first thing we have here, 5/7 plus 3/7. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8/7 would need to be regrouped. 8/7 is the same as 1 and 1/7 because there is a group of 7 in here that I'm going to take out, and that leaves 1 left. 3/5 plus 2/5 is 5/5. 5/5 is the same as 1 entire whole. 3/5 plus 1/5 is 4/5. 4/5 doesn't need to be regrouped. The smaller number is on top. It's not top heavy. We're doing just fine. 3/8 plus 5/8. 3 plus 5 is 8 over 8. Does that need to be regrouped? Yes, it does. 8/8 is a fractional 1. It means the same as 1 whole. 3/8 plus 4/8, that's 7/8. Does that need to be regrouped? Nope. It's good as is. All right, go ahead and try adding these fractions, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So 4 3/5 plus 1 1/5. I'm going to add my whole numbers. 4 plus 1 is 5. 3/5 plus 1/5, that's 5 4/5. That's my answer. I'm done. Letter B, 5 plus 3 in the whole numbers is 8. 7/3 plus 3/7 plus 5/7 is 8/7. 8/7 is the same thing as 1 and 1/7. So I have 8 plus 1 1/7, which is 9 and 1/7. 3 2/3 plus 2 2/3. The whole numbers, there's 5 wholes right off the bat. 2/3 plus 2/3 is 4/3. 4/3 is the same thing as 1 and 1/3. 5 plus 1 1/3 is 6 and 1/3. Let's take a look at this particular problem. This says 4 3/5 minus 1 3/5. Same theory. Now we're just subtracting. So I start off with 4 wholes and 3/5. I'm going to subtract away 1 whole and 3 parts of 5. So I can take away 1 whole right here. Goodbye. But then I also need to take away 3 parts of 5. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get rid of this. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3/5 minus 3/5, that's 0. We have 3 0/5. Except nobody says 3 0/5. Our answer is just 3. Go ahead and try subtracting here. Pause the video, try it on your own, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So we have 7 2/5 minus 6 2/5. 7 minus 6 is 1. 2/5 minus 2/5 is 0/5, just 1. 8 3/4 minus 5 3/4. 8 minus 5 is 3. 3/4 take away 3/4. I could put 0/4, but really the final answer is just 3. Let's go ahead and try this one. 4 3/5 minus 1 2/5. So I have 4 3/5 right here. I want to subtract away 1 2/5. So my 1 whole, I'm going to X that out. That one's gone. Now I need to get rid of 2/5. So I'm going to come over to my circle of fifths, get rid of 1, 2. So I'm left with 4, take away that 1. 4 minus 1 is 3. 3/5 minus 2/5. What's 3/5 minus 2/5? Well, that means there's only 1/5 left over. Wow, now I have a fraction left over. Isn't that neat? Let's go ahead and try these. You give them a shot on your own, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. 3 3/7 minus 2 1/7. 3 minus 2 is 1. 3/7 minus 1/7 is 2/7. So my answer is 1 2/7. 6 3/8 minus 1 1/8. 6 minus 1 is 5. 3/8 minus 1/8 is 2/8. 5 2/8. If you're paying attention to simplifying, you can take 2/8 and divide it by 2 over 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And your answer is 5 1/4 for a final official answer. 4 2/3 minus 1 2/3. 4 minus 1 is 3. 2/3 minus 2/3, well, we talked about that before. That's 0/3. The answer is just 3. Let's take a look at this problem. What makes this problem harder than other problems that we've solved so far? You can see 9 1/4 minus 5 3/4. Now before, I've been subtracting the whole numbers first. 9 minus 5 is 4. Except now I have 1 minus 3. That doesn't work so well. I can't take 3 things away from 1. So what we're going to do is what we're going to do in any situation. We're going to borrow. Let's take a look and let's see if we can change that 9 1/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 9 1/4 and I'm going to take a whole out of it. So right now, 9 1/4 looks like this. 9 wholes and 1/4 shaded in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the 9 and break it into fourths. So now I have 8 wholes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fourths. And because I have 8 and 5 fourths, when we come back over here, we already said that's not going to work. Now I have 8 and 5 fourths minus 5 and 3/4. Can I do 5 minus 3? Sure, 5 minus 3 is 2/4. 8 minus 5 is 3. So I have 3 and 2/4. Or, if you simplify, 3 and 1/2. Which is what they just talked about right here. So in these, we're going to have to regroup to make the fraction part more than 1. So, 8 and 2/5. If we have 8 and 2/5 here, and I want to take I want to take one whole, so that 8's going to become a 7, and I want to add one whole, because that's how much I took from the 8. I took one entire part, and I want to break it into 5 pieces. that's going to be, I'm not just going to add a 1 to it like we normally would. I'm going to add 5. What's 5 plus 2? 5 plus 2 is 7. So it's going to be 7 and 7/5 because I have 7 and 2 plus 5 because it takes 5 to make a whole. So that 2/5 plus 5/5. Let's take a look at letter B. Letter B is 6 and 1/3, but they want me to regroup. So the 6 is going to become a 5, and then I have 1 plus the 3 down here. So that's going to become 5 and 4/3. And then I come over here for letter C, 2 and 3/8. You try regrouping that one on your own, and we'll talk about it when you come back. Welcome back. Did you cross off the 2 and make it a 1? Then you're going to add 1 whole onto this 3. How many pieces make a whole? Look at the denominator. 8 pieces make a whole, which means we have 1 and 8, 9, 10, 11 over 8 to be regrouped. Go ahead and give these a shot, and when you come back, we'll talk about it. Welcome back. So what we have here is we have 3 and 4/9. 3 becomes a 2. We're going to add what onto this? We're going to add 9 onto this because that's how many pieces make a whole. We have 2 and 13 over 9. Down here, 2 becomes a 1. 5 plus the denominator of 8. So that's going to be 1 and 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 over 8. 6 and 7/10. 6 becomes a 5. 7 plus 10 is going to be 5 and 17 over 10. So in these subtraction problems, we need to regroup the first number to subtract it. So we need to practice that regrouping. So 3 and 2/5, did we do this already or can I go over it again? I will happily go over it. 3 and 2/5 becomes 2, and we're going to add 5, so that becomes 2 and 7/5 minus 1 and 3/5. 2 minus 1 is 1, 7 minus 3 is 4, 1 and 4/5. For letter B, 5 and 1/3. Well, I can't subtract 1/3 from 2/3, so I'm going to have to go ahead and borrow. 5 becomes a 4. Add a whole onto the numerator. That becomes 4 and 4/3. 4 minus 2 is 2/3. 4 minus 2 is 2 wholes. Last one on this page. 6 and 1/8 minus 2 and 5/8. I can't subtract 5/8 from 1/8, so I need to borrow. 6 becomes a 5, add an 8 to there. So this becomes 5 and 9/8. 9/8 minus 5/8 is 4/8, or 1/2. 5 minus 2 is 3. So I have my official final answer of 3.5. Now we get to this part, which is the same thing, except now we need to go ahead and we need to find a common denominator. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take 5 and 3/4 and 2 and 1/3. And I'm going to show you, it's going to be hard to show a lot of examples on this one, just because the way to show it takes a little bit of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show one example here. Actually, and then the other two don't need that example, so perfect. So ignore that. So we have 5 and 3/4 minus 2 and 1/3. We're going to take out 3/4, multiply it by the other denominator, put it back in, and we have 3/4. I'm sorry, that was useless. Put it back in, and we have 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. Take out the 1/3, multiply it by the other denominator, 4/4. 1 times 4 is 4, 3 times 4 is 12. Bring down the whole numbers and the sign. So now I have 5 minus 2, or 5 and 9/12 minus 2 and 4/12. 5 minus 2 is 3. 9/12 minus 4/12 is 3/12, or 3 and 1/4. Now, letter B, I don't need to go through that whole octagon nonsense because I can turn the fraction of 7 into something with a denominator of 21. I can multiply 3/7 times 3/3. So I'm going to have 5, 3 times 3 is 9, 7 times 3 is 21, plus, that's an addition sign, 3 and 2/21. 5 plus 3 is 8. I'm just going to put this over here because I've run out of room. 9 plus 2 is 11/21 for letter B. Letter C, I can change 1/4. I can multiply that by 2/2 to get a denominator of 8. So I have 3 and 2/8 minus 1 and 5/8. Can I do 2/8 minus 5/8? Nope. So now, in the amount of room I have, I'm going to change 3 to a 2 and add 8 there. So it will be 2 and 10/8 minus 1 and 5/8. 10/8 minus 5/8 is 5/8. 2 minus 1 is 1. So I have 1 and 5/8. If you would like to continue practicing, go ahead and look at these. Other than that, have a wonderful day.